So good morning, everyone. Welcome to our session, Lead to Cash, a positive experience from lead to final payment and beyond. My name is Konstantin Heine. I will be your session host today, and I'm part of the SAP C for HANA product management, responsible for all integration topics and especially the lead to cash process. And what we will cover in this session today are basically two main parts. Number one is I will introduce you to the lead to cash process, one of our 4 end-to-end processes. Basically, at the end of the session, you will understand what the lead to cash process is, how our strategy looks like, and also how our roadmap looks like in terms of integration. The second part of the session will actually be a demo, so you will be seeing what we currently have in stock in terms of lead to cash. We will actually do a complete walkthrough through the process. We will see different solutions, C for HANA, S for HANA, but also some new topics like Qualtrics experience management. And at the end, we've reserved some time for questions. Let's have a quick look at the agenda first. So what we will start with is a quick look at the Intelligent Enterprise framework. So some of that is probably what you've already heard yesterday, and maybe also in the overview session. And I will just give you a brief introduction why we are doing what we are doing in terms of lead to cash. And afterwards, I will give you a deep dive into the process. So we will look at every single process step and also the sub-processes. And I will also show you some technology highlights. So things that we are working on heavily. And also, as I mentioned before, also show you a little bit the roadmap and what we've planned for the next few quarters. So to start with, this is probably, everyone probably has seen that yesterday in Jürgen's keynote, our Intelligent Enterprise strategy. So what we try to achieve is really to combine operational data with experience data connected via intelligent topics. What we will focus on today is basically two things. Number one is integration, especially the topics around prepackaged integration, out-of-the-box integration. And we will also have a closer look at machine learning and AI scenarios that we've built into our solutions natively. If you look at the complete strategy of our end-to-end processes, you've heard yesterday already that we have 4 core end-to-end processes. Now, if you think about the Intelligent Enterprise really as a company, you have a couple of business processes. And what we've defined almost 1.5 years ago are 4 core processes that are defined as the processes we follow and also work on to enable actually companies to run these processes based on SAP solutions. Now, if you look at the bottom here, you can see the very first process, which is the lead to cash process. So lead to cash, in very simple terms, is everything from the initial contact with a known or unknown contact person to the fulfillment in the end and even beyond, because usually nowadays you have a couple of topics like creating lifetime customers, doing upselling, cross-selling, and also you have usually a service aspect. What you can also see here is that there are actually interconnections with other processes. For example, you see total workforce management, which is connected to the lead to cash process. If you think about the process in the end, where you have a technician, a service technician, for example, installing machines or actually creating services, you might think about, for example, having external workforce doing that. So you can see there's actually also an interconnection with other product areas. And also with design to operate, it's not visible here, but if you think about this process, I mean, you also have at one point in time an order and actually have some overlaps in terms of process steps. So basically what we've done, we have created these 4 core processes, and we use it internally at SAP to really structure our integration efforts, to really make sure that we do not build, for example, point-to-point integration for our solutions, but really make sure that we have an end-to-end process running and that we really prioritize our work according to these processes here. If we now take a closer look at the lead to cash process, there's actually, first of all, the definition of this process. So if you want to really bring that down to one sentence, you could say the definition of lead to cash is to manage all aspects of an initial contact with an unknown customer, so the revenue generation part, to the order fulfillment and service delivery, that's the revenue realization part, allowing you to turn prospects into lifetime customers. That's basically the phrase we use to describe that. So our vision really is to use SAP C for HANA as our core solution in the customer experience area to support this process. But it's not only, and this is a common misunderstanding, a C for HANA process, because we have a lot of connections with S for HANA, for example, especially when we talk about master data, backend processes, and so on. So it's actually a connected process. So it is basically, it has a focus on C for HANA because most of the process is covered by that solution, but we also have other solutions involved here. The The lead-to-cash process is split into 5 sub-processes. The main reason is, if you see the process on the next slide, it's actually quite heavy and quite long. And the main reason is, if you think really maybe about your business, when you have an initial contact with someone on the marketing area, for example, till the invoice creation in the end, probably a lot of departments are involved. And maybe depending on your business model, it's not just 1 or 2 days, but probably several months, depending on your business. In order to make it a little bit more consumable, we have split the process into 5 sections. Number 1 is the contact to lead part, so everything at the very beginning. Then the lead to opportunity part, opportunity to quote cart. So cart means actually shopping cart in an e-commerce scenario. Quote to order and order to cash. So we think it makes this whole thing a little bit more consumable. What are the business benefits of the lead to cash process? Number 1, of course, to really connect the demand chain and supply chain. We used to use the word front office and back office in the past, and we received a lot of feedback from customers that nowadays front office and back office is kind of blurry because you do not have the segregation of duties anymore. And this is why we call it demand chain, so everything that is before fulfillment, and then the supply chain, which is then the fulfillment in the end. What we also focus on is to really combine operational and experience data. In the demo later today, I will also give you an example what that really means, so which experience data we can collect and how we basically analyze them. And the third topic is all around artificial intelligence and machine learning. Mainly, we've built a lot of intelligence scenarios right into our solutions that you can use out of the box, and basically, let's say, fuel the process by providing a little bit of new benefits to your business process that you might not have by not using these intelligence scenarios. Main reason why we have that inbuilt is because we observed that a lot of customers and partners hesitate, for example, to introduce machine learning scenarios, and by embedding these directly into our end-to-end process, we hope that we actually lower the barrier to adopt these scenarios into the solutions. So the lead-to-cash process is actually shown on this slide. And as I was mentioning, it's quite large and quite complex on the first side. But don't worry, we will go through it step by step now. So as I was mentioning, we have 5 sub-processes. So in the gray bars here, you can see that. And everything usually starts with a dashboard. So you analyze your business situation. You use SAP Analytics Cloud here as our strategic analytics platform. And you analyze, for example, in a CEO role, your company business revenue. Usually you then introduce some kind of marketing campaign. So for example, you want to address unknown and known customers. So you could use, for example, your existing database, for example, your profile that is available in Customer Data Cloud. Use the consent that is available there to trigger, for example, an email campaign and do some segmentation on it. But you could also connect with unknown customers. For example, you've captured some email addresses or identities in your web shop, and you want to turn them into real customers by providing, for example, some promotional campaigns to them. So once you do this target grouping and you send out the email campaign, in the positive case, you probably have a follow-up. Maybe you have included a link into this email, and a prospect clicks on that link, and then in a direct sales scenario, for example, your sales rep gets a notification that the customer is interested in a certain product, and you get directly notified in SAP Sales Cloud to work on this lead. Actually, when you look at this representation here, there's a couple of mixed scenario steps here. So what we've decided is to introduce not only the direct sales scenario, which is quite common, but also some kind of self-service or e-commerce scenario. So I was saying that, for example, a sales rep is notified that a customer or a prospect is interested in buying something. Now, it could also happen that, of course, this whole process is done in e-commerce. So someone is browsing a web shop and then suddenly is adding something to a shopping cart, but is not ordering. And then maybe you get a notification and abandon shopping cart, and you can do a follow-up automatically. So everything that we're seeing here is actually also available without a direct interaction with a sales representative. Now, in case it is a direct sales scenario, you probably have an opportunity, and depending on the business model, it could happen that the opportunity is actually fairly quick, because you probably visit the prospect, maybe you do a demonstration of the product, and then you create a quote. Or maybe it is a project business, and then the opportunity is actually quite long, maybe several months or even years. And this is actually spanning across several months and days then. So we have actually the flexibility here to really cover the different business models that might occur here. One central aspect that's right in the center of the slide is then the CPQ step, so configure configure, price, quote. So once you basically agree with the prospect to provide a sales quote, you can go into our SAP Sales Cloud and configure your quotation by adding additional products, for example, not just physical products, but also services and subscriptions, and then do the configuration together with the customer, of course. This is also available as kind of a sales service, again, if you have a web shop scenario. Once this is created and the customer agrees to sign the quote, we, for example, have an integration with DocuSign for digital signature to really capture this, also in an e-commerce scenario, and then the whole fulfillment process. So actually the supply chain starts here. So the whole quote and the order is then transferred to S/4HANA. Then depending on what is included in the order, for example, physical products or services, you have the corresponding fulfillment process, for example, shipping the products or scheduling a technician appointment in Service Cloud. And ultimately, once the invoices are paid, we have the last step with SAP Sales Cloud, the commissions management to show the sales rep how this deal now impacted the bonus payout, for example. Now, if you look at this process, it's pretty much straightforward. So again, don't worry, we'll walk through it in the demo in a couple of minutes. But what I always say here is, and you probably have read it already in the slide capture, that this is for the discrete industry component manufacturing. But to be very honest, whenever I discussed that with different customers and industries, actually every customer could somehow relate to it. I mean, of course, this process looks like different, for example, in a utilities company, but in the end, every company is selling something, either a service or a product, and ultimately gets money for it. So what we actually observed is that this process is quite generic. What we also always mention here with this process is that, of course, you have all varieties of complexity here. You can have a very direct sales and easy sales. So, for example, physical sales from stock products. But you could also think about products that do not exist. For example, when you so a design phase that you enter with your prospect, and then you actually work on a product, and ultimately it's produced. So you can also think about actually a more complex process that is included here. Now, if you also look at the slide, you see a lot of product names here. So Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Service Cloud, Commerce Cloud, and Customer Data Cloud. These clouds are actually belonging to C/4HANA. So maybe it's a good point in time to also have a quick look what SAP C/4HANA actually is. So from a capability perspective, we basically build up C/4HANA, or we call it a modular suite of different solutions. So SAP C/4HANA is a collection of different products that we acquired over the last year, but also SAP homegrown product. And it's basically consisting out of 5 core product clouds. So you can see it here in the gray areas. First of all, the Marketing Cloud, which is actually around marketing automation, so creating campaigns, doing segmentations, also budget management, and also actually creating a customer profile for marketing. We have our Commerce Cloud that came in via the Hybris acquisition a couple of years ago. It's basically our web shop where we have the omni-channel experience and provide actually a channel for customers to buy products, but also, for example, have something like a self-service portal where you can provide sales quote and kind of an inbox to customers that they can then directly accept from there. We have Customer Data Cloud. That's the Gigya acquisition that we did, which is consisting out of 3 parts. Number 1 is the profile. So Gigya is able to also build a customer profile. We have the consent part. So especially in terms of GDPR, it's quite important to capture consent. So you also target and connect with contact persons that are allowing you to connect with them. And we have the identity management. So, for example, social login. If you want to provide access to your web shop with a user, actually named user, you can use that, for example, for login procedures. Then we have Sales Cloud. This is, for example, SAP Cloud for Customers, C4C, but also Calidus Cloud with CPQ and commissions. It's basically all around the sales force automation process. So really have a direct sales and indirect sales process, lead management, opportunity management, but also quotation management. And then last but not least, Service Cloud, actually also including Cloud for Customer for let's say, high-touch service scenarios. Now, newly announced SAP Service Moments, that it also falls into that bucket here, but it also includes the core systems acquisition with field service management for scheduling technician appointments and actually doing customer visits. So these are the product clouds. And now what our goal as our product management is really to bring that together as a suite. And when we talk about suite, usually you might have the SAP Business Suite in mind, where you really have a really complete suite that is completely connected. What we say is actually we call it a modular suite because customers can choose to use one or the other solution here. So not all customers, of course, use all 5 pillars here. You can, for example, say, I just want to use the Marketing Cloud here, and then you're using a part of C/4HANA. And everything that you can see in the different colors wrapped around it are different different, let's say, differentiators or things that we're doing to really bring that together. So number one is, for example, the topic experience management. So we're currently actively working on Qualtrics use cases for the different products that we can actually provide you with some example use cases that you can activate in the solutions to really get the most out of the experience data that you collect and then also connect with the systems. We have the intelligent end-to-end processes. That's, for example, the lead to cash process. We actually do not have only the lead to cash process. We also have a service process in preparation right now to really cover that as well. But we really want to make sure that the end-to-end processes, as I was mentioning at the beginning, are really spanning across all the solutions and work smoothly without any additional configuration here. And then we have a couple of topics that we call core reuse services. For example, a central master data management that we are working on, not just only for customer data, but also for product data. And we also work on things like, for example, central order management in order to have really the order centralized and then distributed in different systems. Training and collaboration, that's a topic that actually came in also with SAP Litmos, the training cloud. When you think about the sales process, what is often forgotten is, for example, the topic of sales enablement. So what we built into the solutions is actually capabilities to train sales reps, for example, new joiners, but also training them on new product. And then the open and agile innovation with the SAP Extension Factory and a couple of other cloud platform related topics. We basically provide integration features, but also extensibility features here. So that's just a quick look at the SAP C4HANA Suite architecture. Now, this is not a C4HANA session, but I think it's important to understand what actually C4HANA is and how it fits into the overall picture. Now, let's have a deeper dive into the technology highlights. So how do we bring together lead to cash and our different solutions? And this picture actually explains a little bit the horizontal and vertical levels that we work on from a technical perspective. Now, at top, you can see the lead to cash process again with the 5 sub-processes spanning from contact to lead to order to cash. Now, if you look at the vertical part, you have different layers here, and I will explain them actually one by one. So number one is SAP Analytics Cloud. So you can imagine if you think about solutions like Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Commerce Cloud, and so on, via the acquisitions, we had a lot of reporting capabilities in the solutions. So there were better reporting capabilities than other solutions, but ultimately we also observed that a lot of solutions were used as BW systems, for example, because it was just easy to use in there. Now, what we are heavily working on, for example, is to really integrate them with Live Connect into SAP Analytics Cloud to have one centralized tool that we can use to do reporting across all of our solutions along the end-to-end process. The LOB applications is what I already mentioned, so I won't go into the details here. Again, our 5 clouds, SAP C4HANA in the end, and of course SAP S/4HANA. And then we have so-called platform services. So for example, what we've introduced for all of our solutions is the support of single sign-on. So really to have the ability to configure single sign-on everywhere and to have a consistent way of authenticating with the solutions. Of course, integration is one central topic. So SAP Cloud Platform Integration is for all of our solutions the go-to integration platform. We have a lot of prepackaged integration content. So for example, if you think about SAP Cloud for Customer, I think it was one of the first solutions we created the integration packages for, first with SAP ECC and then with CRM. And actually we expanded that to different other solutions. So in total, we have a lot of packages available here to really support C4HANA or lead to cash integrations. If we go one level further, we have the central services, and this is what I mentioned when calling them the reuse services. So what you can also imagine when you have a lot of products and a lot of systems, every system has an own persistence. So you have a customer actually in the Marketing Cloud, you have a customer record in the Customer Data Cloud, and maybe also in the Sales Cloud. But actually you do not want to maintain customer data just in one single place and replicate it all the time. So what we will introduce by end of this year is a central customer service, a business partner service that allows you to store actually a core record of your customer centrally on the SAP Cloud Platform, and this is then connected to our solutions and is actually managing the data distribution. Of course, we also have a certain set of core data that is available in the single solutions only. You might, for example, do not want to have interaction records that you have in Service Cloud centrally stored, and maybe you do not want to track interactions on a website and store them centrally in some kind of a master data service. This is what we also extend for the product next year. So also from a product perspective, you need a product and service cloud and sales cloud and commerce cloud and some other solutions. And also here, we really work on a central service to provide the product data centrally. And then away from actually not master data anymore, but more to the transactional level, we have 3 central services. 2 of them are already available. I will start at the right, the omnichannel promotion pricing. That's for the retail area, a service that is available right now to have a central promotion pricing that is then distributed into several systems, and the customer order sourcing also from the retail area to determine actually where to best source products from when you have a large order and you want to really optimize the sourcing of different goods in the order. And then, as I was already mentioning, the order management that is planned for next year. So the order management is really the idea to have one central order service that is then splitting the order and sending it to the backend systems in order to have the right processing types. So, for example, for physical products and service products. We will also extend that for further other business objects, for example, service tickets in the future. But if you look at that, the 5 core services here are really the next ones to come. At the lowest level, we have all the topics around provisioning, customer setup and configuration, integration qualities and operations. It's really, for example, harmonizing the provisioning of our systems, provide end-to-end monitoring, for example, with the Cloud Application Lifecycle Manager, but also Solution Manager. This is really all about the technical topics behind. So there was a technical deep dive here, and an architecture session is not complete without an architecture picture. I've also basically brought from our reference architectures that are available, by the way, for different industries, the process flow with a couple of swim lane representations of the lead-to-cash process. I will not go through it again because we will see it in the demo in a second, but actually what you can see here, and this is what I like about this picture, it shows the complexity of this process. So although this path that I was showing to you actually looks quite linear and quite simple, you can see that a lot of solutions are involved here, and maybe it also shows why it's very important from our side to provide standard integration and integration content to really minimize the effort to build interfaces between different solutions here. I was also mentioning that we call it a modular suite also because of the reason that, of course, when we go into customer projects, for example, there are some other products, non-SAP product, for example, serving marketing capabilities or sales capabilities. So with our open integration and API approach, we also allow actually the connection of third-party applications to this process. And I think such an architecture picture also shows quite easily where to connect to and how basically a certain data flow is meant to be in this scenario. This slide is actually taken from our reference architectures. So one of our strategies that we've agreed on beginning of this year is to provide reference architectures to customers and partners. Main reason is because we have a lot of integrations available. We also noticed that there were a lot of questions, especially around master data distribution. And what we've created for, I think, meanwhile, 5 or 6 industries are really large slide decks with around 60 pages explaining how different master data flows could be and could be set up in order to really make this process, the lead-to-cash process, work. But also, as I was mentioning, other processes, not only the lead-to-cash process. So if we look now at the integration strategy, this is probably also something you've seen. I will just touch that very quickly. Our number 1 priority for the end-to-end process is here the out-of-the-box integration, to really provide packages that you can use and apply on CPI, but also on SAP PO to make this integration work. So there's no need anymore to define the integrations on your own and really create interfaces and do the mappings. We provide that out of the box along the lead-to-cash process. And also at the beginning, I was saying we really use this process to prioritize certain integration efforts in our development organizations instead of focusing on point-to-point integrations. This is also one important topic to really create this content along the lead-to-cash process, that we can really guarantee that if a customer wants to implement this end-to-end process, we also have the content available and we're able to provide that to customers. The open integration, again, is very important when we talk about this modularity. So again, we do not think that all customers will always have all our SAP solutions in C/4HANA in place. We wish that, of course, but in case there are some other products involved, but also on-premise products, for example, we provide open interfaces here. Most of it is documented on api.sap.com, and we really allow customers connecting to that and also on a project basis to connect third-party applications. The holistic integration is, especially when you talk about C/4HANA, quite interesting because integration is not only data or process integration. So So one key aspect that we are looking at is the UI and user experience, UX integration, because you can also imagine by acquiring a lot of companies, none of these companies has used Fiori as a UI, for example, at the beginning. So what we've been working on heavily since beginning of this year, and actually we've come quite far and harmonized all of our solutions. It's actually the same look and feel across our different solutions. We said beginning of this year, of course, we can work a lot on data models and align them. But actually, if you think about the end users working, for example, in Marketing Cloud and Sales Cloud, it's quite important for us to first of all provide a common look and feel, a unified look and feel to end users, and then focus on some more technical topics afterwards. And the AI-driven integration, so my favorite scenario here is the content advisor, so the mapping advisor. In case you have to create, for example, custom mappings or you have some extensions to the mappings, you can use that in the SAP Cloud Platform Integration Suite to use actually some mapping proposals that are based on some historically learned mappings in here. Now, there's one new topic I would also like to touch today. Maybe you have seen that already, SAP Graph, that has been announced at Tech at Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. So SAP Graph is actually a new product that we deliver that addresses the complexity of having to work with multiple APIs when working with applications across the entire SAP Intelligence Suite. So what SAP Graph tries to do is to remove the challenges by offering a unified API layer. So what does that actually mean? If you think about a lot of integrations you have to do as a partner or a customer, you probably always have to know how the backend system looks like. So for example, if you want to connect or retrieve customer data from SAP Cloud for Customer, or you want to create a sales order there, you have to know how the API looks like, how the data model looks like, and how you have to populate the fields that, for example, a certain business object is created here. Now, what we want to achieve with SAP Graph is actually that you have a common access to it, and you do not have to know exactly how the backend system and the structure looks like. So the idea behind SAP Graph is that you have here a stable API that is business object focused, and actually in the backend, I always call it magic happens, and then it's redirected to the right system in the end. So you can see it's a graph-like model that is then finding its way to the right business object, and is actually built on the objects that we use in our end-to-end processes. The screenshot you can see here is actually taken from the total workforce management end-to-end process. We also have that for the lead-to-cash process with sales quotes and sales orders to really allow you to connect with systems here. It's also important to say that the focus here is not only on integration, but really on extensibility to allow partners that might not be SAP partners for many years or maybe not familiar with the APIs of a certain solution in our portfolio to really have an easy way to create extension apps that can be integrated with our solutions then. Overall, there is actually an overview how this is different from other solutions that we have. For me, it's always important to mention that in order to give you some guidance here. So you can see the SAP API Business Hub is the repository of all APIs. This is also where we publish our integration content. The SAP Cloud Platform API Management is used to orchestrate APIs and really to manage APIs. And the SAP Graph, as the third pillar, is used for creating actually the extensions within minutes, because it's really this easy consumable business object focus topic here that allows partners really and customers to connect to our solutions without having to know all the details of the backend solution. If you're interested in that, there's a lightning talk, LT 122, that basically provides you some more information on the topic. And on the show floor, there's also a section, a booth, where you can get more information on SAP Graph. Okay, before we come to the demo now, we will have a quick look at the roadmap. I have to do one disclaimer here because we just updated the roadmap. So actually, most of it that you can see here is still current, but we will update a more current version soon on sap.com. If you look at the roadmap for lead-to-cash, it's quite unique because it's the first time actually this year that we start publishing process roadmaps. So usually in the past, we published solution roadmaps, for example, for Sales Cloud or SAP C CRM or S/4HANA. But now we start creating process roadmaps. And we distinguish 5 different areas. Number 1 are the functional enhancements, then the one master data topic, the seamless user experience topic, intelligence and analytics, and integration and extensibility. These topics are basically grouped around certain guidelines that we have. And what we want to achieve with these roadmaps is to give you some guidance and to create some transparency what we're working on from a functional level. So for example, creating an integration between Sales Cloud and marketing for sales lead handovers, but also integrating the central order management service into our solutions. But we also want to make transparent how the services that I was talking about, like the central customer service or the product service, are planned on our roadmap. Again, I will also not go to the details here. What you will basically see is that we work pretty heavily on integrating the central services to really prepare our products to not replicate all the data left and right, but really connect to our central services. And what we also invest into are the user experience topics to, first of all, continue to have the same look and feel, harmonized look and feel, but also to have the same experience afterwards, so the same UI behavior. Also from intelligence topics, we have a lot of different AI and ML scenarios that we are working on. For example, chatbots and sales assistants that we use here. And from an integration perspective, probably the most prominent one is the SAP Extension Factory that is used to extend our solutions. So if you're interested in the details here, we have published that as well on sap.com/roadmaps. And they will also be available for questions here. What we've also tested at Tech at Las Vegas is a more value-based roadmap. So instead of just providing PowerPoints and PDFs here, we will now continue to actually use the items here and format it in a more business language to also show which value is behind a certain interface that we deliver here. Now, it's not a surprise that most of the roadmap topics are actually related to integration, because the lead to cash process is mainly about integration. And our rough focus is here to really make sure that we can support always the end-to-end selling of physical products, service products, and subscription products. And then in the next step, support also different industries and different complexities of this process. So with that, I would like to start with the demo. So the demo that you will see in a second is actually what we call a click dummy. So the main reason is this is a quite heavy process, right? It's a very long process. And in order to make my life a little bit easier, and also your life a little bit easier, we have basically prepared a little bit this dummy for you. Now, by saying click dummy, it doesn't mean that this is not available. So most of that, what we will see here, especially from a functional perspective, is already available. From a UI perspective, there are 1 or 2 things where we are still in development and do not have published that yet. But basically, you can see here already, if you look at the SAP Analytics Cloud, that the look and feel is already our Fiori 3. A couple of releases ago, that was not the case, especially with some other product. And I think it's actually good development that we have. What I also would like to mention here is actually, I would like to introduce a little bit to the demo scenario. So it's a B2B scenario that we have here. So we are in the role of a company selling pumps. And actually what we want to do is we notice here in our dashboard in a second that the revenue went down over the last month. And we would like to do a product launch for a new pump version, and then we target actually existing key accounts in the B2B area, and we would like to position them. I will explain it once we go through the process and actually show you all the things. Always remember, the demo is also built in a way to show you the different areas in the UX alignment, the artificial intelligence scenario that we've built in, of course the integration, but also how the whole process flow looks like across all of our solutions. So as I was mentioning on this process slide, we are in the role of the CEO of the company, and what we can see here in SAP Analytics Cloud is that the revenue trend went down over the last 2 months. So by analyzing, we actually found out that the pump version that we had is actually not selling very well. And what we would like to do is we would like to replace a couple of pumps with our key accounts, and we decide to start a marketing campaign. So we're now in the role of Sarah, the marketing campaign manager. And I'm now in SAP Marketing Cloud to really create the campaign. This is how the start page of the SAP Marketing Cloud looks like. And what you will notice here, and maybe there are some users in the room who used SAP Marketing Cloud before, you can see that the look and feel is already similar. What is not available, for example, is this thing here in the center. So this is what I meant with visionary demo or click dummy. So there are still some UI differences. But you can see that the look and feel is already harmonized. And this is one of the most important topics, because we really want to provide the seamless experience to our end users. So on the start start page, I decide to create a marketing campaign here, and I would like to create an email campaign because I would like to address our B2B key accounts and inform them that the new pump version is available. Once I click on that, I'm redirected to the campaign designer, and you have here this graphical flow of the campaign, and you can really use certain logical operations to create the campaign. So number one is to define header data. On the right-hand side, you can see that we launched this campaign for the multi-echo pump. That's the product name we would like to create the campaign for, and we include some header data here. We also define our target group. So you can see the members in the target group are 31 with 1,127 contacts. So these are our key accounts that we would like to target now to actually buy a new pump version here. What you can see here already are two KPIs, and these are two examples for the inbuilt artificial intelligence. So what we calculate here, the upper KPI is, for example, the average lead propensity score, and the second one is the email affinity. So if you think about a scenario, for example, you send out a huge B2C email campaign, and you would like to schedule the campaign in a way that most of the people in the target group actually also open the campaign. For example, Marketing Cloud is able to schedule it in a way that actually the likelihood that people open it is bigger than sending it just without any intelligence, because you send it, for example, in the evening, because people are more likely to open emails in the evening than, I don't know, in the morning at 10 when most people are at work. So these are two examples here where we built that in. There are a lot of other KPIs and scenarios available, but this is just showing or giving you one example how we built in this intelligence into the tool. We also define an email template. You can see that here. It's an inbuilt template that we provide here with the campaign. And if you follow the campaign flow, actually the logic looks like that. We create this email campaign, so the email is sent out. And in the positive case, or let's start with the negative case, if the link is not clicked, there's actually a cadence of 1 week, and then a reminder email is sent. If the customer is interested in that, we schedule a webinar. So we, for example, have an On24 integration for webinars. And if customers attend this webinar and are interested, there's a lead created and then directly sent to Sales Cloud and then assigned to the sales rep that is responsible for the customer. And if not, there's actually a cadence of 5 days. And then for a call center, a reminder call is created. So you actually get an active call asking customer, hey, are you interested in, do you have any feedback? And maybe then it's also a sales lead that is created here on a manual basis. Okay. Let's look at the summary. So we have our email template here. We have all the header information here. So we decide to start the campaign. And now the campaign is running. Also, the webinars are happening. And of course, we always think about the positive case. Now the customer, one of the customers, Del Bond Industries, is interested in that. And in our role as a sales representative, we are now in SAP Sales Cloud or SAP Cloud for Customer. So you can see also here, again, the look and feel is aligned. And we get an active notification that the customer is actually interested here and a new lead is assigned to me. You can also see that here, that we have in my leads the product launch for this multi-echo pump, and I can directly jump into the lead, see all the history, my main contact person, Joe Wills, and also the upcoming history. What we focused on is, for example, here the customer 360 to really provide the sales rep with all the information that is coming from different solutions here. And also here the integration topics come in again, because of course over the customer journey we collect a lot of data. So people who registered, people who browse the website, for example, and in order for the sales rep to give transparency and let them prepare for a customer visit, for example, we really want to provide that centrally. What we also have in here is again another example for our deal intelligence. Here it is called lead score. It's called deal intelligence, and it's another example for inbuilt AI and ML scenarios. So what we want to achieve by providing this deal score, the 78 that is visible here, is to give a little bit support for sales reps to focus on certain leads, especially if you have a huge amount, maybe not key accounts, but a huge number of leads that are available. In fact, if you look at that, we've received a lot of feedback at the very beginning. What does 78 in green actually mean? So how do you calculate that number? And one of our core strategies, or actually what we want to achieve, is really to create transparency how the score is is created. So you can see that based on historical data in the system, the score is calculated in a positive way because the distribution channel is direct sales. Maybe based on historical data, the system, Sales Cloud, has learned that direct sales is actually more likely to be closed as a deal than indirect sales, for example. We also see it is actually a positive impact that the lead source is from a campaign and maybe not just a cold call that I did. But you can also see there are negative impacts like the sales unit US. Maybe the sales numbers of that unit compared with other sales units are not that good. And maybe the industry is construction. So maybe we as a company have some issues with this industry because they have some very specific requirements. And that's another example of inbuilt intelligence. So it's nothing you have to create. Actually, it's not an instance you have to add to the Sales Cloud in addition to that. It's really inbuilt, and it's just one example. There are a lot of more scenarios that we've inbuilt here that you as a customer or partner can choose to use and to leverage right out of the box here. Of course, if you have a lot or actually enough data in the system. So what I decided is to convert that now to an opportunity. And what you can see here is another example that we've been heavily working on. It's, for example, a guided procedure to really guide the sales rep through the sales quotation process. You can see already that based on the campaign, the product has been added here with some additional products here. What we would like to do is now to create a sales quote. And in this quote, I do not only want to sell the product itself, but I also want to add services. So, for example, I want to add an installation service. I do that because I also want to show you how the field technician scheduling process looks like, and also maintenance service. So the difference is this is a one-time service. I mean, from a revenue recognition perspective, this is also billed afterwards to the customer. And the maintenance service is actually an annual service that is then a recurring billing here, which shows the subscription product here. So add that to the quote. So you can see the quote is available here now. And in the quote, you can see if you go here to the discounts, you can see that I have a couple of discounts given here. And another example here on the right-hand side for inbuilt intelligence is this recommendation. For example, it says boost your chances for closing. And then the system actually proposes a discount of 7% because maybe also on historical data, the system has learned that this is maybe a number that is actually something that you can work with here. Now, if I add the 7% here, I confirm this. And since it's actually above a threshold, it's now sent to my manager for approval. So it's sent to Nicole Miller. And if I go here to the PDF document that is created automatically, the back, I basically submit it, and then it's sent to the customer. What is important to mention here, of course, there are different ways to provide a sales quote. So I could print it and then go to the customer on-site, get the signature, but we also want to support different ways of that. I was mentioning also at the beginning that we have a DocuSign integration, so we could also capture digital signature, but we can also provide, or actually provide the quote in kind of an inbox. So this is now SAP Commerce Cloud, so this is now in the role of the customer, and what I can do here is I can provide this quote in kind of an inbox. And now in the positive case, also here as a customer, I accept this and say, hey, I'm happy with it. And maybe you have the DocuSign step included in here. For simplicity reasons, I will skip that right now. Then we touch the experience management topics. So now a survey comes up actually asking the customer for feedback for the quotation experience. Now in our case, I say, oh, I was actually quite happy. So I give an 8 here. And then I said processing speed and the attractive prices for most parts. And I said I'm happy with discounts, but slow processing speed. So this is the feedback I provide as a contact person. So I say next. Okay, it says thank you. And now I'm back in the role of the sales rep. And what you can see here is that I've received the feedback now. So basically, sorry, that's the back. The customer assigned the quote, but you can also see the feedback here. You could think about actually using this feedback now as kind of an injection into the sales process. So now if the customer is not very happy and actually saying, yeah, actually I would like to have a little bit more discount, but I was not able to tell you, maybe you can block here the order creation process and actually send it to the sales rep for review. And maybe now you have another chance to get in contact with the customer again to have another discussion here. So it's just one example how we actually embed this experience topic into our sales process. And then in the next step, I'm reviewing my commissions dashboard, and I can see here, again with the feedback, that actually the deal that I've just closed positively affected my sales. If we look a quick look at SAP S for HANA, you have the sales order here with all the physical products. As I was mentioning, of course, the products are split in service orders and sales orders. For example, the service is actually then provided in a different order, but this is just to show you that we make this decision here. Now, if you think about the service process, we now have to schedule a technician appointment. So we now have a demand in here, and what you can see here is SAP Service Cloud. It's our field service management solution, and I'm now in the role of a planner. So I plan technician appointments, and what I can see here by adding the planner dashboard are my different technicians that are available, and actually my planning board. And if I scroll down here, I can see that I have an assignment proposal, and this is actually for the customer I just sold this pump to, and automatically this demand was sent to Service Cloud, so I can basically plan a technician appointment. So I open that here. Automatically, I get a proposal, for example, for 1 hour here or 2 hours for this technician. I select that time slot. It's available here, and I release that. And now actually the technician is scheduled. Now, if we're now in the role of a technician, we have a mobile app available that is then notifying the service technician that actually a new installation appointment pops up. Now, it could be in advance, right? This is now showing actually a short notice one with the distance here. I accept that now, and I see all the information here with the contact person and actually the product I have to install here. Also the parts that are in here, work instructions, and some other things like, for example, safety guide. Maybe I have to complete some kind of checklist with the customer, and then I complete this whole thing once I've installed it, capture the signature of the end customer, and are actually done as a service rep. Okay, so as a customer, now once this installation appointment is scheduled, again, the experience management topic comes in. So I'm now in the Gmail account of the customer. You can see here your ticket has been resolved, so the installation has taken place, and I can now decide to take the survey. Different questions I can provide here with Qualtrics, for example, time to respond to your question or to solve the issue. I add my ratings here. I'm also asked, are we likely to be recommended? I say yes in this case, and then this is also captured and then sent here, for example, to Service Cloud, where you can see for this customer actually the responses that you've captured. Of course, it's a survey that we conduct here, and it's all about then building the business process around the results. So, for example, if you notice that certain technician appointments in certain regions actually have a more negative rating than other ones, maybe you can check what the reason is. For example, in certain industries, maybe there's a danger while installing a certain product because there are special precautions required, and maybe the preparation time for certain industries or companies just takes longer than for other companies. And it just shows you how you can enhance your business process with additional experience data in that case. Good. And now, finally, we want to get our money, creating the invoice. So in here, I have a list of billing items, due items. So here, the bond industries. I'm actually seeing here our invoice. You see all the products and services, the installation service and the maintenance service. Also, you have the flow of this order processing and invoicing process. You can see here it's not complete yet. So basically what we do is we create the invoice here. You can see again here the confirmation. And then we basically follow up from a financial perspective. We analyze our credit items, so we can do some analysis. I don't go into the details here because it's not really part of the core lead to cash anymore. And actually then see that the invoice is paid and closed. And then as a very last step here, you can see the invoice, actually the revenue that was generated by this invoice. And then as a last step, I'm then getting again back to the role of the CEO. And I'm here again in my analytics dashboard. And what I can see here is that over the last month here, the revenue trend goes up because we successfully launched our product campaign and sold a couple of products. Okay, so this is now in a very compromised way the lead to cash process. So you have seen everything from the very beginning, from the analytics dashboard to the to the fulfillment in the end. As I was mentioning, of course, there are different complexity levels, and this was a quite easy scenario that we have in here. But of course, there are different complexity levels, and you can imagine that each and every process step is quite customer specific. But what we really want to achieve here is to provide most of the content out of the box, that you don't have to worry between if the integration between C/4HANA and S/4HANA works, for example, but really use this end-to-end process is our guiding path to provide this integration content. So let's have a quick look at the key takeaways. Number one is for the lead-to-cash process, as well as all other end-to-end processes, we really have the end-to-end focus. So we do not focus only on the customer experience in C/4HANA. As you have seen, we also cover the back-end processes, the S/4HANA processes, to really make the whole process work here, to ultimately really connect this demand chain and the supply chain. The second topic is the inbuilt intelligence. You've seen a couple of examples today, but you can imagine we have a whole repository of AI and ML scenarios that are built in our solutions, and this is really one of our key processes. Not only to make the business process work, but really out of the box also provide innovative features that can be activated and actually then used in the process to maybe increase basically productivity in the process. And then number three, the topic of modular consumption and flexibility. So as I was mentioning, we really have an open architecture. We really provide open APIs to also allow customers and partners connect non-SAP systems to our process. But also the flexibility we provide with the extension factory, a unified way, and SAP Graph, a common way to extend our solutions without having to do a deep dive in the end. So this was the overview. I would like to open up a couple of minutes for Q&A if you have any questions. And I think there should be a microphone coming around.
Thanks for the demo. I think it's quite good, but I think you have not touched upon on the commerce part of it. Mm-hmm. So you've mainly gone into the sales and the service side of it. So my question is mainly around the order management. Mm-hmm. So where exactly you are doing that? Is it part of S4 or is it part of C4? Mm-hmm.
There are different ways to do order management. So the order management service I was mentioning is actually the main purpose of the service is the order orchestration. So to distribute actually the products and services into several systems. We will still support, for example, the order management in Commerce Cloud, but also in S4. So the service is actually an option to introduce if you have need to actually get the order information in different systems. A good example, for example, is you have a CRM system where you do your order taking and then you want to provide this order information in kind of a self-service portal in your web shop. But basically, we continue to support the order management features of the other solutions in here. So you also have the opportunity, you could also see that on the roadmap, to do the lead-to-cash process with the commerce order management.
But that is going to be the future thing, right? But it's not available today. The service you just mentioned about.
Yeah. It's available today for ECC and S4, and we continue to enhance that for service and subscription products. So I think at the moment it's only physical products, but you can see also on the roadmap that we really want to enhance it for the 3 different product types. And then the second step is to also provide that with the central order management service.
I'm also a little bit confused about the user experience which you mentioned in a couple of your slides. I think it's mainly focused on your, again, marketing and sales cloud probably, not on the commerce cloud, because the way I've seen commerce works, it has its own inbuilt experience, user experience. Mm-hmm. So is it correct?
You have to distinguish here because, of course, the user experience from a commerce perspective is always an individual customer thing, right? So we do not provide a unified UX for Commerce Cloud from an end user perspective. What we focus on is, for example, the back office, so the administrative cockpit in Commerce Cloud. That this is actually following Fiori 3, but of course, you're still free with your agency to define how the web shop should look like.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
We'll also in parallel, once we continue, just open this slide. I've created actually added some additional sessions that are related to this session. So if you want to take a picture, I think they are also scheduled for today. Are there any other questions?
I know the whole Qualtrics thing is a bit new, and I know it's acquisition. Mm-hmm. How does it really blends with commerce again? Because I'm coming from the commerce background, so yeah, I'm not seeing that blending with commerce yet. So could you give us a little bit brief on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's quite new, and to be honest, we're currently building real use cases for Qualtrics and CX. The examples that you've seen here, sending out a survey, collecting the feedback, to be honest, that's quite simple, right? And I mean, the scenarios are quite straightforward. We're creating at the moment along the lead to cash process XM, experience management scenarios, and we also plan to publish them soon, so that you have some more deep dive scenarios and also experience management scenarios spanning across different solutions, not just one single solution.
So is it going to be available to your commerce customers? So think about customers who only have commerce.
I think exactly. I mean, commerce is one of the main topics for experience management. My favorite example, for example, is that if you are stuck during the order process and you have a question and you click the help button, right, it's already too late because the issue already occurred. But for example, by providing certain, or actually analyzing certain behavior, click streams and so on, you could already proactively identify issues and then provide a better user experience or experience actually for the buyer by proactively providing solutions here. So commerce is one of the top areas that we invest into when it comes to experience management scenarios.
Cool. Thank you.
You talked about a field service management solution for supporting processes in the service context. Can you also give some information regarding the role of cloud for customer service, especially in terms of the new service moments concept?
Yeah, so we're currently working on reworking our service strategy, and Service Moments is our new solution, really the go-to solution for our service processes. We still have a lot of service capabilities in Cloud for Customer because this is the solution we initially built in customer service and also some field management topics. So from a field service management perspective, core systems or FSM will be the go-to solution, and we're currently figuring out how this basically works together also with Service Moments. And we also want to provide a similar end-to-end process for the service topic, because what we noticed is that not only for the lead to cash, for the sales part, it's extremely important to give some guidance how the reference architecture looks like, but basically have the same thing for the service process. We're still in clarification with a lot of items, but I expect that we also have some strategic guidance soon, and also have hopefully something similar for lead to cash for the service area. Okay, then I would like to say thank you for attending. If you want to talk to me, I will be here after the session. I've also scheduled a meetup on the show floor this afternoon if you want to discuss some other topics around C/4HANA, customer experience, or lead to cash. Yeah, and with that, I wish you a successful 1.5 days at Ticket. Thank you.